Good evening, I'm Dike Rostant. Welcome back to the TTT News. Miami Carnival has come and gone, but the question for some is still to fly or not to fly. One person to help get information on the pros and cons of this argument is none other than Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago's Corporate Communications Manager, Zola Joseph. It's time for in-depth on the initiatives of the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, Mrs. Joseph. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, DK. Thank you for having me, and good evening to your viewers.
It's really our pleasure to have you. We want to start off by you giving us some information about the Airport Authority and some of the latest initiatives that are on the table.
Okay, the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago is a statutory body, and it was established by Act number 49 in 1979. And so we are 42 years old, and we fall under the purview of the Ministry of Works and Transport. And our mission, our vision actually is to be the leaders of diverse and innovative aviation business in the region. We are committed to being customer-centric while stimulating innovation and diverse aviation business. So we are committed to providing safe and secure aviation services at the PRCO and A&R Robinson International Airport. We manage these two aerodromes, and we are committed to ensuring commercial viability of our airports in Trinidad and Tobago.
And that commercial viability and that excellence sounds like some of those strategic focuses. Are there any other things that are just, when we say strategic focus with regard to the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, what are some of those other things that rise to the surface?
Well, some of the things that rise to the surface would include service excellence and customer service and ensuring that we provide a great customer experience for our travelers. We no longer look at doing customer service in a transactional manner. We are looking now at the holistic customer experience, and we are mapping out the passenger journey from takeoff, from arrival to takeoff, and we're ensuring that we provide a beautiful experience for our customers. We're also looking at environmental compliance. We're looking at operational efficiency. We're looking at ensuring commercial viability. Our airports are very, very important in shaping the first and last impressions of our nation in the minds of our visitors. And so we know that we play an important role in stimulating the travel and tourism industry. We play an important role in stimulating national economic growth. As a matter of fact, the travel industry in 2019 contributed about 7.5 to the national GDP and also 8.5% to the national employment level. So we know that we play a vital part in stimulating economic growth in Trinidad and Tobago.
And in terms of that sort of stimulation, what is the significance of the commencement of the KLM Port of Spain route? Is it that we need to get ready to wear clogs and eating curry ketchup with our fries? What are some of those things that really jump to the fore when we think of the commencement of that route?
Well, the thing about KLM is that it opens another option for us to access the European market, not just the European market, but also the Asian market, the African market, the Scandinavian market. So we have another option for accessibility and connectivity to these nations. The second option, or the alternate option, is very good for customers because we have cost alternatives, and this encourages competition. And so we are very happy to have KLM here. It's a route from Amsterdam to Port of Spain. And what occurred during the time that we were locked down in terms of the border closure, the Airports Authority continued its work. We continued our work with air service development. We continued to facilitate the repatriation flights and the arrival of vaccines and the necessary equipment in the fight against COVID-19. We continued with our helicopter operations. We continued those operations service the oil and gas industry. We continued with our cargo operations. So we continue to ensure that there is some commercial viability at our airports, even during our border closure. So KLM at this time, they had their inaugural flight on October 16th, and that signaled to Trinidad and Tobago that there is still investor confidence in Trinidad and Tobago. There is still interest in persons coming to our nation. There is still a level of attractiveness to our destination, and that is very, very important to us. So we have been working very closely with the Ministry of Works, the Ministry of Tourism, the Division of Tourism in Tobago and Transportation. We have been working with their implementation agencies, the Trinidad Tourism Limited, the Tobago Tourism Agency. We have been working with the embassies, the Embassy of the Netherlands. We have been working quite assiduously with a number of stakeholder entities to ensure that not only the airports benefit from these new arrivals, but that also Trinidad and Tobago benefits. And so we have seen the return of many airlines, international airlines. Just yesterday, we had the arrival again of British Airways. And we have seen JetBlue and Copa and American Airlines also return. And in December, we will have United Airlines and WestJet also come. So there is a bit of activity that has been rekindled at our airports, and we're happy for the increased business that is occurring now. Apart from that, I must say that we have new concessionaires that are coming on board. Very soon, we will be able to savor the taste of Richard's Bacon Shop at our local food court. We have also Peter Pitt that's coming on board, and an LA5 bar that will be located in the International Departure Lounge, and another store called Coco's Republic. And then recently we have seen Radical Designs at the airport and Cara Communications. So there's a buzz of activity that's taking place at the PRCO and A&R Robinson International Airports. And we would like to say that our airports are open for business.
And thank you for sharing some of those rays, plural, of sunshine into this conversation, because it's one thing to say, okay, well, people are working at this level, possibly a macro level, a level that is high policy, but that it also says something when you have, quote unquote, smaller players looking and making that investment, saying, okay, well, this is something that I want to be a part of. And speaking to those potential and the real partnerships, we recently spoke with the GCCA plus EU and UNDP partnership, and they mentioned the solar park at the airport. So from your vantage point, thank you. Please tell us about the solar park and why it was important to you to have an initiative like this in an area like this.
Okay, well, one of our pillars, we were speaking about our strategic objectives earlier, and one of our pillars at the Airports Authority is to ensure environmental compliance. And so even before this initiative, the authority, way back in 2014, A&R Robinson had achieved ISO 14001 certification in environmental compliance as it relates to our aviation operations there. And we also have had over the years initiatives such as the accompaniments of our car park that are solar powered. Our vehicle fleet, we use hybrid vehicles with our fleet, and so there are many. Our building management system ensures energy efficiency and all of that. So we use LED lighting and all of that at the airport. So there is a thrust towards environmental compliance. So with our solar project in 2018, the authority embarked on a feasibility study to look at the capacity building for CO2 mitigation at our airport facilities and within the aviation sector. And that feasibility study, the results proffered that there were several sites at the airport that were suitable for a solar farm. So by 2019, we entered a contractual agreement with the European Union, and they agreed to fund the solar park project at a cost of 1.5 million euros. And so we are moving forward with that project. The great thing about that project is that it is the first commercial scale solar park project of its kind in Trinidad and Tobago. So we're happy to pioneer this kind of thing in Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, there's the global conversation now of climate action and climate resilience that is being amplified at this moment. And so we are in that conversation and pushing Trinidad and Tobago towards climate resilience and that kind of thing. So this solar park will contribute 7% of the authority's current annual electrical consumption, and there will be capacity for future expansion. It will also generate a capacity of 1.4 million kilowatts with the potential to avoid an annual emission of 1,000 metric tons. So we're very, very happy about this initiative. The solar park should be completed by the end of the year 2022. And so we are very happy to be with this initiative. Of course, we have partners who are supporting us, the Ministry of Planning, and the Ministry of Planning is promulgating a national determined contribution of carbon reduction within Trinidad and Tobago by about 30% by the year 2030. So we are moving with them in that regard. Trinidad and Tobago is a signatory of the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. So we are part of the global push and the global thrust towards climate action and climate resilience in Trinidad.
And also in the global conversation right now, we cannot get away from the pandemic, and we have not spoken about that as yet, but we do that as soon as we return from this break. We are speaking with Zola Joseph, Corporate Communications Manager at the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us.
Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago extends a warm welcome to all our guests at the Piarco and A&R Robinson International Airports. For the comfort and protection of you and your loved ones, and in accordance with international best practice and advice from the Ministry of Health, the authority has implemented strict health and safety measures and has taken every precaution to prevent the spread of COVID-19 at our airports. On arrival at the airports, travellers should expect temperature screenings, social distancing in queues, and sneeze guards at the check-in counters. For your convenience, we encourage you to use the airline's web check-in services or the self-check-in kiosks at the terminal buildings so that you can get through the check-in process faster and be able to relax, browse our concessionaire offerings, and grab a snack before your flight. The wearing of masks is required at all times in the terminals. There are increased hand sanitization stations, distance seating, enhanced cleaning protocols, and the routine disinfection of security trays and general surfaces. Floor markings and signage are there to provide guidance on social distancing at all touchpoints. We have had sensitization sessions with staff who are willing to assist you on your journey. The safety of our stakeholders is top priority, and we are making every effort to ensure that you can have the confidence to travel once again. Our airports have received health accreditation from the Airports Council International, ACI, signaling that our safety measures are aligned with international best practice. We thank you for your support and cooperation as we strive to create an enjoyable and safe travel experience for our guests. We are 2 islands, 2 airports, 1 heart.
And welcome back to In Depth with me, Dike, where we are speaking with the Manager of Corporate Communications, Zola Joseph, about initiatives the authority is powering. We just saw a lovely representation about the safety protocols put in place. Now, Mr. Joseph, what kind of time frame did this process take from research to implementation?
Well, our safety protocols came out of a COVID-19 response plan, and that came out of collaborations with several stakeholders. the Civil Aviation Authority, the Trinidad and Tobago Civil Aviation Authority, the Ministry of Health, of course, the Ministry of National Security, the airlines, the government agencies, immigration, customs, the airlines, a number of stakeholder agencies. And so we also have an emergency plan that caters toward pandemics as well. So in terms of how quickly this would have come up, from the very onset of the pandemic, we had collaborated and we were implementing best practice measures. From January 2020, we were looking at the situation globally and we were collaborating to implement best practice measures. And so we implemented protocols such as mandatory face mask wearing at our airports, the sneeze guards at our counters. We collaborated with our concessionaires, ensured that we had the correct training for frontline staff members and concessionaires. We liaised and consulted with the Estate Police Association and the PSA, the employee representative groups. And so there was a great deal of consultation and collaboration taking place to ensure that the measures that we put in place were able to reduce the risk of the spread of COVID-19 at our airports. And we also followed the guidance not only of our local entities and government agencies, but we also followed guidance and recommended practices as promulgated by the Airports Council International and also the International Civil Aviation Organization. As you may know, the airport industry operates within a very strict regulatory framework. And so we operate within these standards and practices. And we adopted a best practice and adjusted our systems to ensure that our airports remained safe. And so much so that our efforts were recognized by international bodies. We were awarded the ACI Airport Health Accreditation Certification in November 2020. And we're very happy about that. We were the first entity to have that award given to a facility with 2 airports. And so we were happy about that. And then Skytrax this year, that's an independent body that rates airlines and agencies within the aviation industry globally. They ranked the Piarco International Airport best airport in the Caribbean. And we also topped the airport as the cleanest airport in the Caribbean for the year 2020 to 2021. And these accolades are very significant, as they mean that not only our airports, but also the nation of Trinidad and Tobago, we are being recognized internationally. So we had to implement a very delicate balancing act of implementing these COVID-19 health and safety strategies while ensuring efficient and transformative passenger experiences and capitalizing on these opportunities that would position our airports for strong economic growth. And I am happy to say that apart from the airport ACI Airport Health Accreditation and the Skytrax Awards, we also have recently been nominated. We are finalists in the IDB Innovative and Service Excellence Awards that come under the patronage of Her Excellency Paula Weeks, the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And so we're hoping that we can be successful in that one as well. So we are finalists there. So our efforts are and our successes are the result of a very agile and committed staff. We have employees, over 800 employees, and we are very committed to the task. And though our revenues fell by 95% over the last year, we banded together and we formed strategic collaborations
and it's really something to see that those efforts have not gone unnoticed, because it's one thing people say self-praise is no recommendation, but this sort of accreditation from outside really says something about the efforts that have been put in place to ensure the safety. And I'm sure that some people who are still kind of toing and froing, this will go a long way in helping them to make up their minds what it is they're going to do using the airports of Trinidad and Tobago. But we want to thank you very much, Zola Joseph, Corporate Communications Manager of the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. Thank you for joining us.